Let's dive into this scenario. The first pilot who notices, cancel the warning and announce title of failure.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel Captain SQ, where we're going to discuss on Airbus systems, emergency procedures, and supplementary techniques on how to fly the plane.
Alright guys, previously we explored on green and blue hydraulic failure procedures. So today we will look at green and yellow hydraulics failure procedure. This dual hydraulic failure is an emergency situation with red LAN ASAP displayed, which signifies a critical situation. And do let me know in the comment section below what LAN ASAP in red mean. A mayday should be declared to ATC and all ECAM actions should be completed prior to the approach. Four significant items to consider are loss of autopilot. Number 2, flight control law is an alternate law, and with the gear down it reverts to direct law. Number 3, landing in abnormal configurations. You will only have slats, so your pitch attitude will be high. And number 4, landing gear by gravity extension. Let's dive into this scenario. The first pilot who notices, cancel the warning and announce title of failure. Pilot flying takes manual control of the aircraft and cancels autopilot disconnect warning. Pilot flying says, I have control, I have the radio, ECAM actions. Pilot monitoring says, auto flight, autopilot off, clear auto flight, clear auto flight. A good tip for the pilot monitoring would be to review the system displays and overhead panel to analyze and confirm the failure prior to taking any actions. And let's continue on with the ECAM. Pilot monitoring says, hydraulic green and yellow, system low pressure. Green, engine 1 pump off. Go to the hydraulic panel. In the overhead panel, locate the hydraulic panel and select engine 1 pump off. Next, yellow, engine 2 pump off. Go to engine 2 pump and then off. Maneuver with care. Clear hydraulics, clear hydraulics. Next, hydraulic PTU fault. PTU off. PTU off. Flight control alternate law. Protection loss. Maximum speed 320 knots or Mach decimal 77. Clear flight controls. Flight controls. LAN ASAP red. Let's proceed on to the wheel page. And as you can see, only spoiler 3 is available. 1, 2, 4 and 5 is inoperative. The nose wheel steering is inoperative. There's no anti-skid, no normal braking, and no auto brake. The only thing that you have will be alternate brakes using accumulator pressure only. Bear in mind this will severely affect the landing distance. Let's proceed on to the flight control page, and as you can see, only spoiler 3 is operative. The left and right aileron, the left and right elevator, and also the rudder is only controlled by the blue hydraulic. Once we have reviewed the system pages, let's proceed on to the status page. And prior to that, check whether we have any checklists to be completed, any computer resets, or any OEBs that we need to discuss prior to reading the status. Maximum speed will be 320 knots, Mach decimal 77. It is just a reminder for us. Maximum brake pressure will be 1000 psi because we are using the accumulator pressure only. Maneuver the aircraft with care because we'll be on alternate law, and when with the gear down we'll be in direct law. And for landing, use flaps 3 and GPWS flap mode select to off, so to avoid the warnings in finals. And when config 3 and V approach speed, landing gear, proceed on with the gravity extension. What is the approach speed on finals will be the VREF plus 25 knots, and we have to apply the landing distance procedure. It's gonna eat up a lot of runway. We only have brakes and only one spoiler to stop the aircraft. Alternate law protection will be lost, and when landing gear is down, move on to direct law. Please do review my videos on alternate law and direct law. and brake yellow accumulator pressure only, and slats will be very slow. There will not be any flaps, so your pitch attitude on finals will be high, approximately approaching 10 degrees pitch. What is the inoperative systems that you can have? Okay, so let us keep this simple. We start with what we can expect in the air. The slats will be slow to extend, and landing gear, you need gravity extension, so no retract is available, and the trimmable horizontal stabilizer or THS is not available. Okay, then you can consider what you can expect on the ground. To stop the aircraft, you need three things. Normally, I use this acronym SAR, Sierra Alpha Romeo. Stands for spoilers, auto brakes, and reversers. So for spoilers, you only get spoiler number 3. You are only braking the aircraft using accumulator pressure. And for reversers, well, you don't get any as well. So all of this will increase the landing distance. Other items will be you won't have any nose wheel steering, and also the cargo doors cannot open, and the nose wheel steering is unavailable. Okay, let us proceed to the situation assessment using the QRH summary. If you look at the Airbus FCTM Flight Crew Techniques Manual, you would see what they recommended. The pilot monitoring locates the QRH hydraulic green and yellow system low pressure summary, and after the ECAM actions and status, the pilot monitoring reads the cruise section of the summary. In this section, it helps the pilots in making a situational assessment and in selecting an appropriate runway for landing. So if an immediate landing is not possible, do consider the increase of fuel consumption, which you can refer to the operational data which is in your quick reference handbook QRH. And to calculate the landing distance and V-approach, do refer to the QRH in flight performance, or if you have your EFB Airbus software, do use them as well. So once both pilots decide where you guys are going to land, the pilot flying will hand over controls to the pilot monitoring and uses the green and yellow hydraulic low pressure summary as well as the status page and the FMGS to prepare the aircraft and brief for the approach, landing and go around. In this case, pilot flying will be GPWS flap mode off because you are landing with flaps 3 at 25 knots to VLS config full because you will only have slats and no flaps for your lift, and do select landing configuration 3. Let us run through on what we are going to brief. The important items are configure early as slats will be slow and flaps will be completely jammed. Aircraft will be slow to decelerate as the flaps are jammed at 0. As the THS is unavailable, the elevators are used to trim the aircraft in pitch. The plane is smart. What it does is that the FAC repositions the elevators to new neutral position as the speed changes in alternate law, effectively trimming the aircraft. Deceleration and auto trim function is through the elevators. As the slats are extended, the elevators are used to trim the aircraft. At the point the gear is extended, the position of the elevators becomes the reference point for the side stick neutral position. Therefore, the aircraft needs to be at flaps 3 at V approach and on approach slope before extending the gear to have maximum pitch control. Landing gear is gravity extended using the procedure from the QRH summary, and no retraction of the landing gear is possible just in case you have to go around. A high pitch attitude can be expected on landing, as I mentioned earlier on, and with the risk of a tail strike, so do be careful. Pitch call must be made if the pitch exceeds 10 degrees, as tail strike can occur at 11.7 degrees with gear compressed. No reverse thrust, so the advice is not to select reverses on engines, and braking is yellow accumulator pressure only, using max brake pressure which is 1000 psi, limited to 7 application. Okay folks, let us begin our approach, and on the approach you select VFE minus 5 knots and bug it down to 225 knots. At VFE minus 5 again, do select flaps 1 and then bug it down again to VFE minus 5, and this time around is 195 knots.
Select flaps 2.
And after that you bug it down to VFE minus 5, which is 180 knots. And then proceed on with flaps 3. Select the V approach, which is 154 knots. and no flaps is available. Slats will be at 2. And then on the landing, with the aircraft at the approach and descending on the glide, lower the landing gear, which is gravity gear extension. Pilot monitoring selects the gear down. Remember, the man pitch trim is unavailable due to the loss of the stabilizer. Pilot monitoring reviews the status to check that all approach procedure actions are complete, and we proceed on with the landing checklist. We expect a high pitch attitude during the final approach. Minimum flares required. I'm reminding you that a tail strike occurs at 13.5 degrees with the main gear oleo extended, or 11.7 degrees when compressed. Select idle thrust only, and pilot monitoring calls brake pressure to allow pilot flying to achieve 1000 psi per side. And when stopped, select the park brake on and advise air traffic control that a tow is required to vacate the runway. As you know, there's no nose wheel steering for us. And that's it for this video. I hope you learned something. For the cost of free, do destroy the like button, subscribe, it will help a lot in the YouTube algorithm, comment on what videos you'd like to see, and I'll see you in the next video.